Welcome to Childcare Rockstar Radio. I am your host, Chris Murray. Childcare leaders around the globe are breaking through challenges, leading the way in innovation, testing new best practices, and impacting children and families in a much more powerful and positive way than ever before. Each week, join me for interviews with early childhood leaders and experts that will leave you inspired to become the next childcare rockstar. Now, let's go. Welcome back to the podcast. It's Chris Murray, your host, and I'm thrilled that you're joining me today for an incredible interview with the Pettengills, who own Pettengill Academy. Chantel and Zack are an amazing couple. They're a young couple. They've been married for a while because they were high school sweethearts, and they have a 10-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son, and a beautiful school with a capacity of 144 children, and it's almost full during this fall season in this pandemic year. So it's quite a story that they have to share with you about their journey, the attacks that they had on their center from licensing, from parents, from grandparents, social media firestorms, you name it, they've experienced it, and almost shut their doors from the stress, the anxiety, the fear, and the sadness, and just overwhelm and all the yucky stuff that happens when those things happen to your school. We hear the story of overcoming today in the podcast and what they did to turn it around and the tenacity that they approached their life and their business. So I know that you're going to love the podcast. A lot of amazing tips, techniques, nuggets, and marketing insights, major marketing wisdom shared in this podcast. So this is a not to be missed episode. Chantel and Zack were finalists. They were first runners up in our recent Childcare Rockstar contest at the Childcare Reimagined virtual summit event, to which there were 900 folks registered. And if you were there, you hopefully experienced what many were saying was even the best summit ever. The caliber of the speakers and the content, the breakout workshops, the sharing, the community, the tribe. Even though we weren't together in person, it was an incredible experience. And so I just, again, want to thank everybody who was part of that event in mid-October 2020. So here in the Carbondale office, I am just past celebrating my birthday. I'm working on some personal goals that I've had for myself and my health. I'm back in the gym. I'm working on transforming fat into muscle and some other personal goals that I've had for a while, trying to hit those before 2021 takes place. And you should be doing the same. You know, this year is not over. And while we may be in the throes of an incoming flu season, and I know we must have a new president, but while I'm actually recording this, it's a week before the election. But by the time that you hear this, we will have a new president, or at least know who our president is. So that'll be exciting. And let's look at our own lives and figure out what we really, really want, because this is not a dress rehearsal. And I want you to not be stuck in your life and really think about how you can take the next 45 days or so, if you're listening to this in real time, of 2020, and still work on your goals. What I also like to do coming up in December is some deep thinking about my future year and what I really want in my life, what is causing stress, fatigue, lack of energy, things that I am dreading. What I shared at the summit was the loathe versus love list. Loathe versus love. What do you loathe? What do you dread? What's sucking your energy in your life and your business? And I'm going to give you permission right now to free yourself up from it in 2021. So put the steps in place right now to say, hey, make a declaration. I'm not going to do this, this, and this anymore because I loathe it. And I'm either going to delegate it or I'm just going to stop doing it. Even if it has revenue attached to it. I'm going to free myself up, because when you jump into things where your heart shines, money follows. And that's what you got to work on, especially this year. So that's my unasked for advice to you here on the podcast, but because that's what I'm working on myself always, and especially at this time of year. This is my time to kind of reassess, look at my life, look at the things that I've accomplished this year, which are many. In my dream book, my dream journal, I've shared with you before, I've gotten about 8 big dreams checked off the list this year. And that has fed into my confidence as an entrepreneur and a business owner, and as a female, as a woman, as a mom, and a fiance of a great guy. So without any further ado, let's dig in and learn. Let's meet Chantel and Zack, the Pettengills, here on episode 90 of Childcare Rockstar Radio. Enjoy. Welcome to the podcast. We are in episode 90 of Childcare Rockstar Radio, and this is Chris Murray, your host. I'm thrilled to have you guys back. And today's guests, not just one guest, but 2, Chantel and Zack Pettengill. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Good.
We're good, Chris. Thank you.
Awesome. Great to have you here. Where are you right now?
We are in our school. We're in one of our common room areas at the school. We just shut down about a half hour ago. So we're here.
Yeah, you're like, woohoo, we made it through another day.
Yeah.
Where in
art wall.
are you? Where in Maine are you?
Lewiston.
So we're about 2 hours south of Coach Bryant.
Coach Bryant. And that is 2 hours south of Bangor. And are there any other towns, bigger towns that are near you? What's the nearest town
There's Augusta, hour north, and then Portland, about an hour south.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm a huge fan of lobsters from Bar Harbor, but I should probably say lobster.
Lobster and Bahaba.
Yeah. So, fun fact about me, my dad took us every summer. My dad would take my brother and myself in this van, like not even a fancy van, like a, piece of crap Chevy van that he got from my uncle. And we would load it up with camping stuff, just tents, maybe not even a sleep pad, like just so basic. And of course, this was late 70s, early 80s, and a cooler full of lunch meat and soda and chips. And off we went. And we would go to different parts of the country. And it was like some of the most formative trips of my childhood. And our second trip was up through Vermont, New Hampshire. We stood on the top of Mount Washington and almost got blown off. And then we went up to Bar Harbor and had some lobster. So that's the last time I was in Maine. Like literally.
You gotta come visit.
I know. I keep telling Coach Dupe, I'm coming to see you and Carol. I'm going to come stay at your lake house and go out on your boat. So when I do, just don't what?
Don't fall in.
Yeah.
Hey, I can swim. But yeah, when I come visit, it's not an if, it's a when. I will definitely stop by and visit you guys.
That's awesome.
Perfect. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about you two. Your business name. We know you're in Maine. Your capacity, enrollment, that kind of thing.
Yeah. We own Pettengill Academy in Lewiston. Our total capacity is 144. Right now, we just actually this week hit our pre-COVID enrollment. And so we're back at 110. And so now we just got to keep with our 2 new classrooms we added, get to 144.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. 110 out of 144. Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you.
Way to go. And what would you say are the things that really set Pettengill academy apart? What are kind of the things that you're most proud of there?
One of the things we've been certified Eco Healthy. We had to unfortunately drop the certified Eco Healthy through COVID because we moved away from the Eco Healthy cleaners just because of they're not approved right now.
Right.
But we do with our meals, our vegetables are fresh or frozen. We stay away from like the canned veggies, things like that. We do a learning curriculum. I have a background in education. My degree's in elementary education. So we really focus on that. And for being a city-based daycare, we have a natural-based playground, which not very many daycares in this area can say.
And a large
natural playground. Do you have like stump jumping and a mud kitchen and all that kind of stuff, or just a little bit more?
Tons of mud. Yeah. Tons of mud. Lots of trees.
We're in the process of it's ongoing development.
Yeah.
Adding new things all the time.
Good. And why this crazy world of preschool? So you said you came from an education background. So I guess I don't know if you mentioned how long you've owned it, but tell us a little bit more about why you started it and a little bit more about your journey, early days.
So I actually started working in daycare when I was 16. So this is actually my 20th year in some form of daycare. I told Zack, I said, I'm not that old. I said, I started when I was 16. 20 years is not that long ago. I went to school for elementary education, started working in public school. I was an ELL middle school math teacher. And so I was teaching children from Somalia who are refugees that came to our city. And unfortunately, I was feeling that what I had to teach these kids was completely against my philosophy of education. These kids needed more than just math. They needed social emotional development. And I was not happy teaching public school. So with my dad and Zack had the crazy idea of starting a daycare. So we remodeled my basement at my house and started as a home daycare with 12 kids. And then 3 years later, expanded to a 10,000 square foot building that can fit 144. So it's been a journey for the past couple of years, but one for the better because I can teach the kids how I want them to be taught. And it goes more with my philosophy of how kids need to learn.
Right.
So
awesome. Well, we'll get into that and we'll get into some of the, things that you've struggled with in your journey and some of the big successes that you've also accomplished, which are many. Zack and Chantel were one of our finalists in the Childcare Rockstar recent contest 2 weeks ago at the Virtual Childcare Success Summit Reimagined, and came in second place and did amazing. You're getting a nice check, and you're also getting the recognition that you deserve for being in that contest. And I was just very grateful and loved your video and love your story. And so I wanted to bring you to the podcast since you are childcare rock stars, you're living and breathing it. So congrats on that. Tell us a little bit more about your home life. Obviously you're married, so it's a husband-wife team running the school, and I'm assuming you have kids. Tell us more.
Yeah. You can go.
So I just want to say it's thank you for the honor of being chosen to be rock stars. That was a pretty incredible experience. As far as being married, it's been a crazy ride. We're high school sweethearts. So I mean it's been a long time. We're busy between the kids. We do. We're involved in the Little League.
Evelyn turned 10 this year. Sawyer turns 9 in a couple months. So with them only being 18 months apart, we haven't stopped. They're involved with Evelyn does softball and dance, and Sawyer does baseball and dance. And so between
music lessons and
so we're doing the daycare, I started it when Sawyer was 2 months old. I left teaching. And so part of it's been nice because I've been home with them through it, but now they're doing the remote learning, and Evelyn keeps talking about, so when I run the Pettengill empire, this is what's going to happen. And for being 10, she's already thinking about how she's going to take over someday.
I love that. That's fantastic. Oh, Evelyn, you're a little lady that I admire. That is fantastic. And I love the name Sawyer because I'm a huge fan of the TV show Lost, and my favorite character from that show was Sawyer.
Wow.
So
There's a funny story about that because that was my favorite show. And as names were getting tossed around, that was one that stuck.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I had a celebrity crush on that actor. I'm just going to admit that. Admitting that right now. Very cute. I love that. Yeah, you've been very busy. 18 months apart. Kids, not quite Irish twins, but right there. And it's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. I give you major props for being entrepreneurs, running a business, making it successful through all the challenges you faced, and staying married and having a strong family. And it's not easy, believe me. So let's talk about one of my favorite questions that I get to ask on this podcast is your fun facts. So something about you, each of you, that hardly anyone knows. Share.
So that was really tough. Chantel joked she was going to send you an email and said, we're super boring, so let's just skip that.
No, dig deeper, people.
Do you want to go first or?
Oh, I'm pretty open book. And then we joke around that. I said, the fun fact, people don't know me. I said, I shared during the Rockstar presentation. I said, there's not much else. I guess my biggest thing, a lot that people don't know now, is growing up, I studied karate, Okinawa Kempo, and received my first degree black belt along with my dad and my brother. So it's something that we've always carried through.
That's actually where we met.
Yeah.
So.
Really?
Through karate.
Yeah. That's so cool.
I didn't go as far, but.
You were both in high school and you met in karate class?
Yeah.
You met. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
And you're also very tight knit with your family, I can tell, Chantel, because if you did that with your brother and your dad, and then your mom has been your director for this whole time and working with you in the school as a part-time admin or full-time. So that's you guys are really, I just admire that. And I know, again, having worked in a family business with my dad and my brother, I know the trials and tribulations, but also amazing fun. It can be super fun and also super challenging to work with family. So I give you those props as well. Really, really great. Thanks for sharing. So let's talk about the leadership and culture of your school. So I know that you have gone through a lot of trials and tribulations around being found for licensing violations, having things happen in your operations around child safety and things that, didn't go the way that you wanted them to. And you faced a lot, and then you had to figure out how to turn the ship around, essentially. So talk a little bit about that journey, where you were when you first started the school, 6 months after you opened, and you were like, oh my gosh, maybe feeling like you were on the hot mess express. I don't know. But you've really worked hard to turn it around and work on your culture and your leadership. So share some insights about that journey, if you would.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do that one? Because I can
do that one.
Yeah.
So in 2015, we expanded to the new center. So 15 kids, I had 12 kids, and I enrolled some more, came over with me. And then my mom, myself, my grandmother was working part-time. And then I hired a person to help me as we grew. And then we just kept growing and growing and growing. And in 6 months, we grew 300% in enrollment for the business. So that was a lot of kids all at once, fast. And I didn't have training for the staff set up. I was hiring people that had background in early childhood, but the one thing I learned fast is just because they have background in early childhood, it's not how I want it done, or that it was a good background in early childhood. And so things started getting out of control where staff weren't, the expectations weren't set. So they were on cell phones and they were socializing versus supervising. And it was one thing after another. they, instead of coming to me, they would call licensing, or they would call licensing about violations such as ratio violations, where they were the ones that left the class out of ratio. Like it was things like that. It really came to a head when I had a little girl fall off our play structure. And she got a hairline fracture in her foot. It was a snow day, mind you, so I had a lot of people that called out because they didn't want to drive in the snow. So staff was tight. Our ratios were covered, but it was tight. And I was doing interviews and things like that. My director was sitting at the front desk doing nothing. Staff just wasn't supervising. And the little girl fell. She cried, but she was one to cry a lot. So we picked her up, brought her to lunch, put her in a high chair. Didn't really notice anything until Dad came to pick up, and she was limping. Dad brought her to the doctors. We watched the tapes and found that she had fallen off the structure. So lawyer got involved. My insurance company had to get involved. Licensing got involved. At this point, out-of-home investigations got involved to start looking at neglect. So it was a hot mess. From March until May, we were under investigation with multiple license visits. And then once people found out that, licensing involved, well, I'm going to call more. So they kept coming in and out. And it was to the point of they were interviewing staff, but staff was not being truthful, but they were blaming staff versus us. So there was a distrust with licensing. One of the things that happened was staff told them that we were at a ratio at 6:11 in the morning. We don't open till 6:45. But they wouldn't change it. They gave us a violation anyways.
So we have a hard time getting out of the house and here for 6:45. So there's no way that would ever happen.
And so there was a lot of staff turnover, trying to keep staff trust. It was a hot mess for a while. Zack came on June of 2017, 16. 17. And we were starting to get things straightened out. And then we had a staff member a parent not like a staff member, and accused the staff member of putting the child's shoe on too tight to cause bruising. The child had chubby feet, so there was lines, there was no bruising. I had to get my healthcare consultant looking at pictures for us to confirm that aspect. The parent refused to sign incident reports. For that, she caused a scene in our parking lot because we wouldn't fire the teacher on the spot without doing an investigation. So it was a hot mess. She called licensing 6 months after our regular investigation. And then the grandmother took it to Facebook saying how horrible we are. We abuse children. We neglect children. I got 80 shares and 300 comments, and it was a mess. Like I was at the point of giving up. I was in tears every day. My anxiety went through the roof.
Right.
We were ready to sell.
Yeah.
It was not, I was ready to go back to public school teaching, and I wasn't happy public school teaching, but it was better than what I was going through at the time. So, we got violations for that. We got violation because parent refused to sign the incident report. So they
took it.
They took it.
And that was our fault.
It was our fault for that. So I guess the best part of it is if we didn't have it happen, we wouldn't be where we are today.
We learned a lot.
We set policies up. We changed stuff. 2018 we were doing better, but not the best.
We're doing okay.
Our licensor retired. So we got to build a better relationship with a new licensor who didn't have ideas in her head. She came in with a clean slate. So that was nice and helped us rebuild things. And then I met Brian through the Child Care Advisory Council the state of Maine had set up. I was chair of it, and I was nosy. So I started Facebook stalking all the members to see who was on this committee and what work we could do with it, and found that Brian was a child care coach. So started researching, and eventually Zack made me call and joined you guys. And it was been amazing because now we have systems in place. We have operations in place. I delegate. I don't take everything on my own. I'm getting better. I still do a lot of it, but it's.
Well, a lot of it was the mindset shift, because when I came on, we changed from one mindset, and my mindset wasn't necessarily always the best, but it was to get us fixed and through the situation. And then since coming on with you guys, it's a better mindset of that positive growth mindset. And that's where we need to be. And that's where we've really seen everything kind of blossom and get better.
Yeah. So we do, we get rid of C and D players a lot faster and really start rewarding the A and B players much more. We have values that we have now in value walls, and they're on our t-shirts, and we hold people to, so now are accountable to our values. So if they're not showing up to work, you're not reliable. So that's one of our values. Things like that.
We coach to improve versus coach to get rid of.
Right. When you say reward, what specific kinds of rewards are you doing? You can just talk about some fun things, or monetary, non-monetary.
Yeah. One of the simplest things that we do is we give little, I don't remember what I name them. I guess Rockstar Award, like high five type things, postcards that we put in their mailbox. Last week, my infant room, one of my girls called out sick due to an emergency, and the 4 girls that were in there were like, oh, we can move around this child, and we have it covered, and we're good. So, for that thinking, we just kind of give them a little thank you note of saying, thanks for doing this. And just those little touches when we see things, or if they do something, just walking up and giving them a high five in the hallway. We do
chaos coordinator.
We do chaos coordinator now quarterly. So anytime we do a training day, we award one of our teachers with the chaos coordinator award with living our values. So they get Facebook recognition with all our parents, and they get a little
cool
travel mug and a certificate and pictures. And we're going to do a PA Rockstar this winter where the girls will nominate somebody and the parents will help vote for who they want to receive it. And that normally it would be during our Christmas party that we would award that, but we're going to have to probably shift from our Christmas party this year just because of COVID regulations in the state, but still be able to give them that award as well.
And food. Everybody loves food.
Yeah, we do different events. It's Halloween, they're going to dress up on Friday, allowing them those things. We do the culture days, 3 days a week plus our Christmas party. And in that we do competitions and awards and team building and things like that during those days as well.
The dance off. They all had the dance battle each other. We did mummy rap, where wrap toilet paper around one of them the fastest.
Just trying to have fun as a group, because especially through COVID, things have been crazy and it's tiring. And so we just want to make sure that they know we have fun. It's one of our values. We make sure we do it.
I love it. I love the chaos coordinator. I love the PA Rockstar. I love all that. Super fun. And isn't it great when your culture shifts from you having to manage everything until where you described, we had somebody call out because of emergency. The girls just jumped in and figure out how to cover it and move the kids around. Like, isn't it great when that happens? And then they start taking it on, and they're empowered to help you solve problems. And now not everything rests on your shoulders. It's a pretty great feeling.
Even like my senior lead teacher, who I love her dearly, but she can be negative at times. And Zack was having a rough day, and she posted on Facebook, positive mindset, you need to change that. So even like we're getting those people to start changing their thinking, and it was kind of like, it's working. Woohoo, it's working.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't know what's clicked, but it's clicked. I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that, because there's nothing that gets me fired up more than seeing teams at a preschool just come around to that mindset piece and just, work on their own happiness mindset and growth. And it's just so good. That collaboration. I love it. So Way to go, you guys. It does work for anybody listening to this podcast that is still in a place with a school that does not have that, that's full of negative Nellies. You can turn it around. Zack and Chantel are perfect proof. Yeah. So keep working on it. Keep going. Don't give up. Love that. And you talked about mindset. So, and your mindsets have gotten a lot more positive, especially working with us in the academy and with Coach Dupe. So, are there some things that you do to further that you try to work continuously on your mindset? Or are there any, either books, podcasts, or things that you enjoy with regard to mindset? Or what do you do just to try to stay positive if you're having a rough day?
It's been tough through COVID.
Yeah.
We've definitely bounced back and forth between different things, just trying to see what sticks. I meditate. I find that helps me sometimes. And then as far like lately, since the summit, and I don't know if it's the summit energy that everybody gets, but it feels like it's another level right now. We both just got new planners, trying out. That I've never been a planner kind of person. I like to live in like organized chaos. This is new for me. But I like it. Podcasts, I don't do. I'm a book nerd. Like I like to smell old books.
Good.
Chantel does a lot of the podcasts and stuff, but I listen to the Child Care Rockstar. And then right now we're actually listening to Trent Shelton's Straight Up, the audiobook, with the kids in the car. And it's kind of cool because they're picking up on that.
That's
and
good.
Then like the one book that I like to go back to is Raise the Bar by John Taffer. I think it's a fantastic book. I don't know, everybody loves John Taffer, so.
Yep. Me and I love that. Love Bar Rescue. So good. I do. Because you guys know someday I'm going to host, hopefully, daycare rescue, childcare rescue.
I was listening to Judy's a few weeks ago, and I heard you talking about that.
Yeah, I like it. That guy, John Taffer, he's so inspiring. I saw him. I went to one of his, he was just doing a webinar, and it was all about invention in the face of the pandemic and how we needed, as in business, American businesses needed to reinvent ourselves. And he actually is opening a chain of restaurants in Atlanta, and I think he's going to expand out from there. But he was like, in our new restaurant chain, we have cameras in the kitchen because we want the patrons to be able to watch the chefs making the food. And it's kind of like, you're live streaming in what's going on, and you can actually like even see your dish being made, which is very, very cool. And most restaurants don't have that level of transparency and visibility, right? Because they're like, ooh, we don't want our patrons to see. It's kind of like childcare centers that are afraid of getting webcams because they don't want parents to be able to see what's going on in the classroom. And it's like, no, if you flip how you're thinking about it, it's a huge selling point. It's a huge peace of mind, and it's a training tool for your teachers. Right. And there's a lot of benefits to it. So we're, to try to flip that. But I'm a huge John Taffer fan. So that's awesome. Raise the Bar. I actually have not read Raise the Bar, so I'm going to have to get that.
Oh, it's great. It's very customer service focused and first.
Yeah.
So it's a great read.
Awesome. So with regard to your enrollment, because you're at 110, back up to from 100 and, of your capacity, you're close to full again. And I'm going to ask you about that, about what you're doing that's working for you in enrollment. But I want to also just say that when we got to spend an hour with Simon Sinek at the summit, and we got to ask him questions and just get him to love on us and give his goodness. He talked about depression being a real thing during COVID. And so that we all have needed a time to let ourselves be sad. We've all needed time at different times of this year of 2020. Sometimes it would hit people in April, and sometimes people were late bloomers and it wouldn't hit them until last month. And so I just want to say to everybody listening, and from being inspired by Simon, who shared that he kind of just went into a little bit of a cocoon. I think we all have, in a little way, of wanting just to, take care of ourselves, whether it's meditate, sleep, watch TV, veg out, be depressed, just kind of be blah in whatever we needed to do to kind of get through it. And so I just want to say that, and you guys have each other and you've done amazing, but I know it hasn't always been easy for everybody listening. And to have to pivot. And that reminds me of a time that, Chantel, you were on one of our group calls, and then you just had gotten some really, really bad news from your health office. I think it was your local health official was like, you're not following the regulations and we're going to potentially shut you down. And you were literally in tears on our group call. And everybody's like,
I forgot that camera on.
Yeah. Everybody was like freaking out because it was on a Zoom. And so we could all see her camera. And I was like in the middle of talking, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, you need to ask Chantel, what's wrong? So it was evident of, we all have times when we break down. We have had multiple times when we've probably broken down this year. Tears are cathartic, and we all have each other's back in this community. So just wanted to say that, and we've all gone through it. So with regard to shifting topics now, talking about marketing enrollment, because you guys have done amazing things in marketing and enrollment, and just keep going. You keep going. What are one or two things you can share that have made the biggest difference for you?
The biggest one was paying attention to marketing enrollment. I've always had a Facebook page. I always had a website. Even when I was a home center, I had a website. But it was like looking at the details, looking at, how I market, how I enroll, and then always doing the first follow-up and always advertise, even if I don't have spots advertising, even if I'm not hired or I don't have anyone to hire, positions to hire for, always running those ads. And that's made a huge difference. The big thing too is personality, answering the phone with a smile. About a year ago, I had someone call and I was referred to by another daycare, and I answered the phone, and my bubbly personality when I answer the phone, and they're like, wow, it's such a difference compared to the other daycare I just called. They sounded like they were so angry. And I'm like, well, I always usually have a smile on my face when I'm with the kids. So it was just kind of like, really? Like someone answers the phone like angry? But just those little details. And then always following up, like I do the phone calls after tours. When pre-COVID, we were giving out tour bags. And it took me a little bit to figure it out. But last week we are using a company to send out little gift boxes with a card, and it has like little things in it, like a snack and lotions and tea and things like that, that we'll send to a parent instead of the tour bag. Cause I'm still doing all my tours virtually. Just because it gives them, my families that I have right now, that sense of safety that I'm not allowing extra people in the building when I don't have to.
And we're heading into winter, and up in Maine, it gets cold and snowy up here. So everybody's bundled up. Yeah.
So it's just doing those additional things. The other thing that I've started doing is, because parents can't come in the building, is Facebook Live videos. So on Monday, we've been doing a trivia question and just kind of giving them an into the updates through Facebook Live. On Tuesdays, I do a tour of one of the classrooms since they can't see the classrooms, things like that. So that way my current families can still see what's going on day to day, even though they can't come into the building. And my potential families can see that, oh, okay, they're in live and they are wearing masks throughout the day. And so they can see those things as well. Because right now, doors are very closed. It kills me that doors are closed, but
it's keeping that transparency up too.
With our families. So, and we're going to start showcasing our staff. We had them fill out surveys, so we're going to do a couple each week. So that way, because we've had some new staff members, and we have a lot of new families that haven't met all the staff. So that way it gives them a chance to meet who our teachers are, even though they're behind the main lobby and can't always talk to them.
I love those ideas. One of the biggest that you mentioned was just the follow-up, mailing stuff to the home. And it's like, it can be a small thing, but even in times when you're doing in-person tours, mailing a children's book, mailing a fun package of goodies, mailing some swag, unbelievable what kind of a wow factor you will get, because nobody's doing that, and you guys know the value of one enrollment. And so you're so smartly going, it takes the little extra effort to mail a few things out to families. We will secure the enrollment also because we're not answering the phone angry and grumpy. And you guys are and that's just so, and so many businesses just don't pay attention.
Right.
So I love that, Chantel. You're absolutely spot on. Look at the details, take the time to mail something out, go to that next level, do whatever else in your market's not doing, and just go the opposite direction, and you will win. You'll win. So I love those suggestions. When you do your Facebook Lives, you're being able to show the children in action? Like, you don't worry, because do you have people have said, yes, you can show my child on social media. So you have a thing where you make sure you don't have certain kids or does everybody say, yeah, it's fine, you can show my child? Do you know what I mean?
We worked it right as part of our contract. So basically, if they sign the line, if they don't, we just ask for a note. We do have some that are like foster kids and things like that. And we just make sure that they're not in the videos when we do those.
Got it.
For it. But our parents are pretty good about all that. They want to see that little bit of them.
Yeah, I know I would. We've grown up on Facebook. The kids of this generation, even the ones who are now 9 or 10, most parents have put, their sonograms of the baby in utero on Facebook all the way through. Yeah. Everything is shared. So for the most part, not everybody's on there, but most millennials are used to it. So that's really, really good. Did it take you a while to get confidence to do the Facebook Lives? Were you first resistant, or you're like, I don't know, and I don't know how I come across, and feeling nervous about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And even to the point that last Friday, we did one for our candy corn to announce our candy corn guest winner. And I had the camera focused on my mom sitting at the computer versus myself talking. I'm like, oh crap. So we still make mistakes, but we laugh it off. And
10, 15 minutes of her eating, working on the computer.
That's hilarious. Bloopers.
Yeah. But it's getting better. I don't say as much, and I speed it up a little faster. I don't drag on talking about whatever.
Oh yeah. My first audio tapes that I did as a coach for my very first info product, it was the Childcare Business Success System. Very serious, back in 2009, which is what the story I tell. The very first product I sold online, it was $697. And my first order came through and it was boom, $697. And I just got up, I ran downstairs, I opened the champagne that's been waiting for the very first order. And I ran out to my kids' playground, and they were out there swinging on the swing set. And I told my ex-husband, we made but those tapes that I made for that system, that kit, were the worst. I was very monotone and very boring and talked really slow, and so now I'm like, oh my God, but you get better. That's the thing. Yeah. You just got to kind of jump in. For people that are listening and they were like, I could never do a Facebook Live. You can do it. Just start, and it's going to be rusty at first, but you'll find your way. So
big practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fun. So
push you to do it.
Kudos to you. So that's really, really good. So our pivotal question on the podcast, and I don't always ask it, but I want to ask you guys because I just love you and I want to hear what you have to say on this, is the definition. I know the definition of a childcare rock star. We've talked, people say teachers and they say this and they say that. And you guys have really lived through this transformation of turning your school around. And so how do you define a childcare rock star?
The three biggest things that came: someone with perseverance, someone that can create a positive growth mindset, and somebody with tenacity. because you can't give up. You have to dig through. And the reason I say
keep digging through.
I would have never imagined tenacity, but when we first started this, I pushed to get it. We didn't have enough parking spots technically to have the 200 kids I wanted.
City Hall and won.
And so I had to go through the whole City Hall and code enforcement. And our landlord's a big developer in the Lewiston area, and
he owns like a third of the city.
Yeah.
God.
He was talking to the realtor that we were using, and he's like, I don't think I've ever seen any young entrepreneur, business owner, especially female, with so much tenacity. And that word has stuck with me through.
It's one of the best stories. Long story short, I ended up in City Hall as a politician, but I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I was talking to the head of our code department one time, and he was talking about something, and he goes, remind me, I'll have to show you my angry Chantel impression sometime. Once you stormed into a meeting, it was like, I need this.
But tenacity is what has carried us through, being able to not give up and not give in. There was a time where I was ready to, but I've been able to find that spirit again. And so if I didn't find it, I wouldn't be where we were now.
Yeah. And you're serving families and kids, and you're doing an amazing job. So where are things headed for you two? What is your vision for growth? Where do you want to be 5 years from now?
I really want to have 5 to 10 locations. We're actually in the process of looking. Last month I went to go drop my lease check off because they're only right down the street. And the building manager goes, so, and I haven't talked second locations with him. I haven't talked anything else. He goes, so he asked how it was going. I said, great. We just built out our last 2 classrooms. And he goes, well, do you need an extension to the building? I'm like, I don't know where we put more room. So they're willing to build more space.
Wow.
And he's like, what about buildings? We have some in Portland. We have some here. We have some bigger. We have some smaller. And so it was all on his own. So we're definitely going to be writing an email the next couple of weeks to him about asking what they have for buildings, and then sending Brian and Tamina keep talking about letters. So looking at writing letters and sending them to daycares that might be struggling right now, that might be ready to retire, and will be willing to take over for them in that aspect as well. But we want 5 to 10 locations, and just being up there with the heavy hitters, maybe franchising. We'll see.
Now, Zack was shaking his head while you were describing these buildings. So, Zack, why were you shaking your head? What's going on over there?
My son came over and was hoping to steal the phone charger.
Oh, and you were like, no, you were shaking your head at your son. That's fantastic.
My only thing is I want my secluded cabin in the woods that I can just go sit in the snow with.
Yeah. Well, I think you can get that as part of your empire building plan.
Thank you.
Yeah. I officially give you approval to get that. Now Chantel's going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. But no. And again, I want you guys, when I keep hanging out with you and thinking about Jake and Leanne, because they want a cabin in the mountains. They actually have a cabin in the mountains.
Perfect. We've been neighbors.
You're going to be now. You guys are new Empire members with former rock stars, Leanne Chamberlain and her husband Jake, and you guys have a lot of similarities. And you're going to be in a pod together.
Nice.
So
awesome.
So you'll both be in Empire pod together, so you can really start sharing and bonding because you have cabins in the woods and all. It's really good. I love it. Thank you guys so much for being with us, and congrats on all your successes and everything that you have used your tenacity to just muddle through and power through, Yeah. You persevered and you've made it out of a lot of that pain and into a place of positive mindset. And I know that there's a lot of amazing things on the horizon for you. So Thanks for being here on the podcast today on Childcare Rockstar Radio.
Well,
Thanks.
Thank you
Thanks for having us.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. And this has been episode 90. We have loved it and look forward to talking to you guys on the next episode. Take care and God bless.